Hello and welcome to this video. Today we will see how to do this list of checkboxes, okay? As you can see here, I have a list of my services, okay? And each service is represented by a checkbox, okay? So here, if I select one of them, as you can see, the background will turn green, okay? And also this icon will turn into a check icon, okay? And I can also select multiple one. So as you can see, I selected two. I can select all of them. And I can also unselect them, okay? As you can see. So in this video, we will see how to achieve this result, okay? So enough talking, let's dive into the code. Okay, here I have an empty project, okay? As you can see, here we simply have this image and this text, okay? What we want to do, we want to achieve this. So the first thing we want to do, we want this icon and this text, okay? So we want this UI. So let's come back to our body and we can remove this V stack, okay? Let's remove it. As we said, we want this icon and we also want this text, okay? And we want it to be in an H tag. So let me add this H tag. The first thing we want is an image, okay? For the name of our image, what we want to start with this empty square, okay? So for the name, I will simply type square. Okay, as you can see, we have a square here, okay? So what we can do, we can maybe increase the size, okay? So let's do that. If I come here, do font. And for the size, we can put 30, okay? Yeah, I think 30 is big enough, okay? Or we can maybe do 35. Yeah, or 30. No, 30 is big enough. And we also want to set it as gray for the color, okay? Because as you can see in our final app, we have it the color is gray, okay? So let me add the color here. So here, foreground color. And what we want is gray. Okay, perfect. It's looking good. Now the next thing we want to do, we want to add this text, okay? So let me do that. After this image, I can add this text. For the value, let's put cleaning services. Oops, I have a typo here. So it's cleaning services. Okay, and we can see it's looking good. Now we can change maybe the font. Yeah, what we want is a headline. And also we want it to be bold, okay? Because as you can see, this is bold. Okay, now what we want to do, we also want to add this text, okay? Because as you can see, we have a title and we also have a description, okay? So let me add it after this. So if I come here, I copy this and I paste it. We will put it on the same line, okay? Because here we are inside this hashtag. So what we want to do, we want to cut these two and we want to put it inside a V stack. So V stack, let me paste it inside. And look at that, now we have our two tests, okay? But we don't want our description to be bold or to have this font, okay? So let's change it. For the font, what we want is body. And we can remove this font weight, okay? So let's see our preview here, and it's looking good. But we have a small problem here, okay? Let me show you. If, for example, I come here, I copy this, and I paste it multiple times. As you can see, if I paste it multiple times, we have multiple lines, okay? But in our end result, as you can notice, we only have one line, okay? So no matter how long this text is, we only want one line, okay? So how can we do that? Let me first remove everything. So here, cleaning service, and maybe we can change this text. Let me put this is a description. And let me copy and paste it multiple times. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to come here after this font and we want to set the line limit, okay? So line limit, and we want to set it to 1. And as you can see, we set this to only 1, okay? And you can also play with this value, the truncation mode. Let me show you truncation mode. So by default, this truncation, this is the truncation. What I mean by truncation mode is those 3 dots, okay? So this one, for some reason, maybe you want it to be at the head, you know? Maybe if you put head, it will start at the beginning, okay? And if you put middle, it'll be in the middle of the text, okay? So that you will see the beginning and the end of the text, okay? So for us, what we want to add this tail, okay? And as I said, the default value is tail, so we can even remove this, okay? And it will stay the same, okay? So now that we are good on this one, what we can do, we can remove this, okay? And now we want to add an alignment, okay? Because if I put it back, if I put the text back, you can see that this is not aligned, okay? So here on our vista, what I can do, I can add this alignment. And we can set it to leading. And we also want to increase this spacing, okay? So let's add this spacing. And we want to set it to 5. Okay, I think this is looking good, okay? So now what we can do, we can simply come here and put everything, put all of this into a separate view, okay? So let me come here on this vista. Maybe I can toggle this, okay? So we can cut this and put it in a separate view, okay? So here up here, let's just create a new view. And we can paste it inside our body. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to come here, copy this checkbox view and paste it inside our body. And normally everything should look the same. So here we go, we have this, okay? So now the next thing we want to do, we want to add a model, okay? Because we don't want to hard code those values every time, okay? We want to add a model, okay? So let's do that. Okay, for a model, what we can do, we can come up here, okay? And we can create a model. So let's do that. We will call it service item. Each one of our service will have this title, okay, a description, and also this boolean variable to see if it has been checked or not, okay? So what we want here, the first thing we want is a title. Then we want a description. And we also want a boolean variable is selected. Okay, now that we have this one, what we can do inside our view, what we want to do, we don't want this to be hard coded, okay? So each time we call this view, we want to say that when we call this view, we want to bind it to a specific service item, okay? So let's create a bounding variable, binding, and we will call it service item, of course. And for the type, it will be of type service item. And now here, instead of hard coding this cleaning service, what we want to do, we want to remove this, and we want to take our service item and get the title. And we want to do the same thing for this description, so we can remove everything here, service item that description, okay? And everything is supposed to work the same way, except for one thing, we didn't provide a service item, okay? So that's why we have this error. But if I come here and I provide one state, let's call it service item, and we can create a mock of a service item, okay? So service item, for the title we can put cleaning service. For the description, this is a description, and it's checked for now. Let's put false. And now what we can do, we can simply copy this and pass it to this checkbox view. And normally the error should go away. Let me see. Oops, my bad, I forgot to add this $sign, and everything should be okay now. Okay, perfect. Now what we want to do, we want to add our list, okay? And in order to add our list, what we can do, we can provide some mock data, okay? Instead of only having this on service item, okay, this is only one instance of service item, we can add a list of multiple service item. Okay, to save us some time, what I did here, I added this mock service item, okay? So what it does, it simply returns a list of multiple service item, okay? Because here we only had one item, but we don't want this, we want a list, okay? So I added this list. So if you guys want to copy this, what I can do, I can simply scroll down, okay? So that you guys can clearly see, okay, what I added. So I simply added a list of multiple services, okay? So that's it. So with that said, what I can do, I can come here and remove this service item. We don't need this anymore. And here, instead of adding a single checkbox view, what we want to do, we want to cut this, but we want a list instead, okay? And for the data, we want to take it from this mock service items, okay? So we can copy this and paste it here inside our list, and we can provide an ID. For the ID, we can set it to the title. And now for each element of our list, what we want this checkbox view. Okay, so let me copy this, and if I come here, I can simply paste it. And here for the service item, what we want to do, we want to take this item. Okay, so item, and we want to provide this to this service item. Okay, and normally everything should keep working. As you can see, we have a list. Okay, now it's not clickable, but at least we can see our list of services. Okay, so with that said, the next thing we want to do, we want to make this clickable. Okay, we want to be able to click on it and select it. Okay, right now we are not able to click on it. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, to make it clickable, what we can do, we can go back to our checkbox view. Okay, yeah, just one checkbox view. And what we want to do on this edge tag, what we want to do, we want to add a property on tap gesture. Okay, so this is what will happen anytime we tap on this one. Okay, so what we want to do, anytime we tap on this edge tag, okay, what we want to do, we want to change this is selected. Okay, so what we can do, we can come here and take this service item, okay, the binding service item, and we can get the property is selected. And what we can do, we can toggle it. Okay, this toggle will simply turn it, if it's false, it will turn it to true, and if it's true, it will turn it to false. Okay, so now let's see something. If I tap on it, nothing happened. Okay, but nothing happened because we didn't specify that we want the background to be green. Okay, anytime we tap on it. But to show you guys that this is working, what we can do, we can simply add a print somewhere here, and we can simply say it works. If I get my log here, okay, as you can see, anytime we tap on this, we will print it works. Okay, so we know that this is working. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to add something. Okay, we want to add the logic to say that, okay, anytime we tap on this and this variable turns to true, what we want to do, we want to first change this icon. Okay, so let's do that. For the icon, here we have the name of the icon. The name of the icon is squared. Okay, but what we want to do, we want to change this name depending on the value of this is selected. Okay, so let's do that. In order to do that, what we can do, we can come here and say that, okay, this service item, if is selected, if this is selected is set to true, what I want is this icon. And if it's not set to true, so if it's false, what I want is this square icon. Okay, let me maybe format this. Okay, so everything looks good, and now we can test it. So every time this value is selected, will turn false, it will use this icon. Okay, and every time it's true, it will use this one. Okay, so let's do that. Let's give it a try. If I click on this one, as you can see, it turned to this icon. Okay, and if I tap again, it will turn back to this square. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is maybe to change the color. Okay, so for our foreground color, we don't want this gray every time. What we want to do, we want to do the same logic. So if this one is true, we want the color to be green. And if it's not true, we want the color to be gray. Okay, so if I tap again on this one, this will turn green. Okay, and if I tap again, it will go back to gray. And the same goes for all of them. Okay, so now the last thing I think we want to do is to set the background color. Okay, so we want to set the background color of this edge tag to be green. Okay, if I collapse this edge tag, okay, I can add this on background, and here I want the same logic. Okay, if this service selected is true, what I want is the color green, and if it's false, what I don't want any color. So let's check this. If we go to our preview and I select this, okay, as you can see, it will turn green. Okay, but we have a problem here. Okay, here on the finished version of the app, as you can see, the whole row is turning green. Okay, but here only this edge tag will turn green. Okay, so the problem here is that this edge tag is wrapped into this list. Okay, and by default this list has a padding, okay, an internal padding. So that's why you can see this small padding here. Okay, even though we didn't set up a padding anywhere, but you can still see this small padding. So what we want to do, instead of setting this background here on our edge tag, what we want to do, we can come here and copy this. Okay, I can comment this out just for reference. And what we want to do, we want to come here on this checkbox view and set this background on this checkbox view. Okay, and here of course it doesn't know this service item, so what we need is this item. So let me remove this by item, and let's see. If I go back to our preview and I click again, and you can still see that it does not work as we expect it to work. Okay, because we still have this padding. So how do we remove this padding? In order to remove this padding, what we can do, we can simply add this property, list row inserts, and we can specify that we want to get the edge insert. Okay, so now because of this, If I select again, you can see now it takes the whole row, okay? If I select this, it will take everything, okay? But as you can see, we don't have padding anymore. So what we want to do, we want to add the padding by ourselves, okay? We can go back on our view, okay, on this checkbox view. And here, instead of this background, we can remove this background. And here we want to add our padding. Okay, what we also want to do, we want to specify the frame, okay? So if I come here, frame, and for the width, we want to take the whole width, okay? And we can also specify the alignment. And we can set it to leading. Okay, let's go back to our preview and let's check it again. Okay, as you can see, everything is working perfectly. And we now have the same result as our finished app, okay? But here, as you can see, in our finished app, this green color, okay, has some opacity, okay? So if I come back here, we can see that this green is not that green, okay? So what we can do here on this color green, we can add this property, opacity, okay? And we can set it to maybe 0.5. Let's check it. And we can see that it's still too green. So maybe we can reduce it to maybe green. Let's see. Yeah. Or we can even set it to 2. And yeah, I think this looks good, okay? And now the last thing we want to do is to add this title, okay? All services, okay? How do we do that? We can simply add here before on this list, or we can even right click on this list, okay? Embed into a vista. And here, instead of this vista, what we want is a navigation view. And now on our list, what we can do, we can add this property, navigation title, our services. And yeah, I think this looks amazing, okay? So you guys can be proud of yourself. The last thing we can do, we can simply run our app. And as you can see, everything is working perfectly, okay? We can select and we can also unselect services. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If that's the case, please like and subscribe, okay? And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.